Hey, I'm getting loaded.
Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester chats with writer and comic book legend DG Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/Capes and Lunatics. Hope to see you there. That's right. Thought you got away, but you didn't. It's time for another third best Southgate. I'm Phil, and of course, joined by the third best Southgates, Master Rob Southgate.
Yeah, third best is maybe overestimating. Even though there's only two more. Hi, Phil. How are you?
Hello, Robert.
There's technically more. There's my parents. They're still here. So, and then there's some cousins and that. I think they're last name.
Counting your house. I thought you were counting.
Yeah. Well, if you count my cat, I'm fourth.
Oh.
If you count dead cats, I'm like that are buried in our yard. Don't tell the cops. We're like I'm probably 13th or something. I don't know.
There's like 12 to 11, 12 dead cats.
I don't know how many are in the yard. All I know is I don't want to plant a garden in the one area. It's a dangerous proposition now.
What? Pet cemetery?
Yeah. Sometimes they come back.
All right. So, hey, Rob, what have you been up to?
A million things, as per usual.
As usual.
Yeah. God, I hate all the heads on this. I hate that image.
All right, we'll have to fix that for next time. But what? It's all.
I hate it. Also, Phil, I don't know. Do you want to continue this? I mean, does this add value to your network at all?
Robert, you always add the value.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, does anybody? I mean, I know that
he's getting sick of it, kids. He's getting sick of it.
Well, it's not that I like doing this with you guys, but I'm really at a point where I'm looking at things going, is there any value?
Okay.
And
good night, everyone.
Yeah, really. I don't know if this adds value to your network. I don't see numbers coming in.
Okay.
And if numbers aren't coming in, it's a waste of your time and your resources too.
Okay. All right, kids. Welcome to the last episode of the third best Southgate.
At least for now. Let's put a pause on it.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't see any value to it. I love doing it. I love being with you and when Lilith is here. And we've had a lot of fun. But if nobody's watching it, what are we doing?
What you're saying makes complete sense. But I almost feel like I need to do an intervention. Be like, Rob, you add value to everyone.
No, don't even try. Yeah. So, okay. We'll call it the big final episode. This is your final-ish episode. You know me. It's always ish.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye for now. But this is your chance, Phil. Ask those questions, man. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, we could do the pop culture stuff, but the first thing I did see on social media, I did see you asking people, what are your dreams? How can I make it happen? So I assume this is some kind of mentoring thing.
Well, no. I mean, I guess we could call it mentoring, but one of my businesses and one that I really, truly love that I kind of paused for a while there. And I only paused it because I was working so much with Four Horsemen and on all the other projects. Hold on, I'm sharing this everywhere. Might as well. I started a coaching business, coaching and consulting. So I have two of them. I have one called Southgate Small Business, where I help with like your marketing and fine tuning that kind of stuff. Right? You've got a business. Let's figure out what you need to do. Like I could sit here with Capes and Lunatics and I could help you figure out what your goals are, where your things are, and then how we fine tune all that stuff. And I consult on it. Consulting is different than coaching. Usually I do a little bit of coaching, figure out what's blocking you, but then I'm like, do this, do this, do this. For Dreaming Big Coaching, I have a website, dreamingbigcoaching.com, plug. That one is also a mix, but it is mixed the other way. It is really coaching with elements of consulting. So I'll give you an example. Hold on, I'm sharing this to Southgate Southgate Media Group also. So I was doing podcast consulting. I had somebody that had a podcast, and they were trying to build a podcast, and they needed to know all the different aspects, from social media to editing to basically assembling the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we did, I want to say it was 6 sessions. And see, when you do that kind of thing, they either do it or they don't. If they don't do it, it's no skin off my teeth. I'm not the one that's actually supposed to do it. I'm the one that's telling you, hey, Phil, your Instagram bio sucks. Here's how you fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't fix it, that's on you. The coaching part of it is me asking the next week, what stopped you from fixing it, right? So I was consulting about this podcast stuff. They did a lot of it, and they did get launched, and I liked the show quite a bit. But then as we were coming to the end of this, that was a 6-week program, I said, hey, did you have anything else you needed? And they went, no, podcast is up and this is great. And we're really happy. And then he went, actually, do you know anything about getting published? Now, this is before I was working for the publisher. And I said, yeah. I said, yeah, we self-published. Boom. Pod Life. And featuring Phil Parrish. Anyway, so I said, yeah. I said, what do you got? He said, well, I wrote a book during COVID, and I don't know what to do with it, but I would really love to get it published. And I said, are you looking to indie publish, self-publish, or try to get a publisher? And he was like, oh, it's going to be self-published. He said, I'd really like to have this thing, even if all I get is a copy for me and my parents and, 2 friends. I was like, okay, well, that's easy. So we went into the Dreaming Big coaching thing, because it was more there about achieving this dream. And he hired me. We did, I believe, 8 weeks. And we went from, I wrote this thing and I have no idea what to do with it, to 8 weeks later, it was in KDP. It was getting approved to get published. It came out in November of that year, just before Black Friday. I helped him. I consulted by helping him figure out, like, okay, here's how you get an artist for the cover. He had no idea, like interiors, outerior, like all that.
Mm-hmm.
I helped connect him to an editor, which he was like, oh, it's edited fine. I handed it to an editor. They went, what is this? We got it formatted properly. We did all that stuff. And I just kept saying, here's how you find this person. Here's some suggestions. He ended up using all my suggestions for people, which is great. I love to connect people. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is he had a book. Now, when I talked about the other part of the dream, which is like, hey, you want something to do with this, you've got to do these types of posts, you got to do this. He didn't care about that. He wanted the book, and he got it out, and he sold okay, and he's thrilled. He's thrilled. That's what I do. You have that dream, that thing that's been niggling at you, whether it's, hey, I've got the Capes and Lunatics podcast network, and I want to grow this into something, which you could.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, hey, I mean, if it's something like I want to clean the garage, that's not me. I mean, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
No, there are coaches like Maeve, my wife, she does like grief coaching, and a lot of times it'll come down to, in the beginning, it's like, what are you stuck on? It's like, I can't think about what to do with my life because my garage is a mess. She's like, okay, let's work through that. Like, I'm going to teach you how to clean your garage, because once you have that block out of your way, other blocks start to disappear, and the next thing you know, well, like, wow, I can actually start going for these goals, or my goals changed. So that's what I do. Dreaming Big coaching is really about that. And when I started it, I did a post very much like what you just saw. And hey, you got a dream? Like, here's my thing. Here we are. It's almost Christmas, right?
Yep.
People start writing their resolutions for next year. You have this dream. You want to make a short film. I've always wanted to make a short film. Okay. So if we don't get on this, if you don't put skin in the game, and invest in this, as soon as you put skin in the game, you're more likely to do things. When I hand it to you, you're not going to do it. But if you put skin in the game, you now feel like, hey, I'm committed to this. I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm holding your hand, getting you to that point where it's like, oh, I see how it can happen. So here's the thing I say. It's almost Christmas. It's, you're doing New Year's resolutions. A lot of people do that. And then they laugh and they go, oh, it fell off. Why? Do you want to be sitting here, Phil? I'm going to say you. Let's say you wanted to make a short film about Nightwing. You've got this great idea. You could do it, but you're like, I have no idea how to go from here, step A, to even like C. I might know how to do B, but C, I'm dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if we don't make this step now, it's now a year from now, 2025. We're talking to each other on November 30th. Do you want to be in the exact same place?
No.
Of course not. But if you don't make those active steps, you very likely will be. Now, does it mean I'm the right guy for you? No, that's why I do the free consultation thing. Tell me what your dream is. Let's talk about it. If it's something that I can help you get through, maybe you're a one-session person, and then I tell you need therapy, or you need this. You need another type of coach, and I send you that way. Or maybe like with this writer, it was like I was the right guy for him because I had self-published. I knew all these things, and I knew people.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were talking, and I would say, here's what you need to do. Here's what I'm seeing. And the coaching part of it is, what do you think? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Phil, you've got this Nightwing movie you want to make. And I say, what do you think the first step is? And you go, well, first step is I have to hire a director. And then I say, okay, well, that's not accurate, but okay.
Don't you need like a script first thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have an idea, a story idea? And you go, I do. Okay. Do you know how to write the script? No, but I have this outline. Okay. And we kind of work our way through it till we figure out, maybe you're not the one writing the script. Maybe you're hiring somebody to write the script, and then you're producing it. Maybe you're actually a producer, not a director or writer of it. Or maybe you're the director or whatever. But you have this dream, and that's what I help you get through. I mean, look at my life. Now, would you say that my life's a dream? No, in a lot of ways it is. In other ways,
look, we got comments.
in other ways, financially, it's not, right? Oh, yes, Lilith, I agree.
Someone crawled out of their coffin, I see.
Hello, Lilith.
Therapy. Yeah, because you're nice and adjusted, Lilith.
She would be, but every time she gets adjusted, she moves again.
Oh! Oh!
Shots fired. Lilith, technically, this is the last episode, so you're missing it.
Yeah, Lilith. He's giving us the heave ho, Lilith.
No, I'm not. I'm putting a pause on it because I don't know. If it's not adding value, I don't want to waste people's time.
But yeah, I mean, you're talking about the coaching and everything.
So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Dreaming Big coaching. And so, yeah, going back to that real quickly, I put that ad out there. I think it was 2 years ago, right after Christmas. It was right around New Year's. And I said that exact thing. Where are you going to be at in a year? And I picked up a few clients. That's when I picked up that book. Picked up a few clients. And it was great. In fact, the trajectory seemed like it was really going to be fantastic. But it was in that I picked up consulting on a Kickstarter. It was because of that post. They said, I'm looking at it going, I've got this Kickstarter, and I don't know. I know how to make it successful to a degree, but I think I need his advice. We did a free consultation. I just threw out a few ideas, and then they said, how do I hire you to do this? And we came to an agreement. That led to me meeting Erica at Four Horsemen and Val, which led to me becoming vice president of marketing and growth, which led to me stopping all my coaching. So I just continued with the clients I had until they kind of like, I've got one who would want me to do this every month. We had a standing thing, but she's in the Navy, so she's not around. She's on the water. And she was finally like, okay, I'll just contact you when my tour is done. I've got like 2 more years. I said, okay, I'm here. I also am very cognizant of whether we're a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to string you along. If we're not a good fit, I'm going to tell you, like, hey, I don't want to waste your money. Just like me saying the value thing. I don't want to waste your money. I don't want to waste your time. So let me connect you to somebody. Or I had a guy that he kept wanting to go. And I was like, but we're not getting anywhere and it's wasting your money. And finally, I pulled the Band-Aid off and I said, I'm not going to take your money. I'm going to refund it if you send it. And he needed to talk to a therapist.
Mm.
Well, because coaches are not therapists.
Yeah.
But people confuse it, right? And for him, his blocks were not like, what's stopping you? You know what? I'm just afraid people are going to yell at me. Okay, well, they're not. And here's what you're going to do to get over that. His was more deep rooted. And I was like, you need to talk to somebody about that can actually help you through. I'm a big proponent of therapy. I see a therapist every other week. And it's very beneficial. Doesn't mean you walk around like, what? No. But I walk out of there and I go, oh, yeah, I'm glad we talked. Okay, that was good. For me, I would love it if I could have a combination of a therapist and then have a coach on the other side helping me get through the things. I need both. And I think most people need both. So, yeah, Phil, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that. At Four Horsemen Publications, the books are 50% off through Monday. Get your books 50% off. Come on, man. There's a comic one. Ooh. I think it's on pre-order. It's called Comics Lit. It's all about literature and comic books. It's really good, Phil. And it's 50% off pre-order right now.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, Tuesday it's not 50% off. Tuesday it's 15% off because it's a pre-order. Big difference. Go order it. It's called Comics Lit. It's by Tanya Todd. And I forget who the other author is. They did it together. Tanya's the one I talked to about it.
Lilith said there are life coaches who are therapists. Maybe go back to school.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
School enough.
And actually there are, but they shouldn't be. They should be two mutual exclusive things. And when you talk to most therapists about it, they say the same thing. The ones that bleed at our coaches that start doing that, and they're kind of crossing a line that they really shouldn't be. It should be two separate things. Kind of like coaching and consulting. I blend them, but I'm very clear about where I'm doing which end of it. Because people do want to hear thoughts on like, but how do I fix this? Okay. Consulting, I tell you how to fix it. I give you options and you do with it what you will. But if it's coaching, it's why, how, what's your real goal or your real motivation? And we get through that. Like I said, that book, that was starting out really as kind of consulting. And I said, but we're going to have to coach you through. The first two sessions were only coaching with, I shouldn't say only, there was like 5 minutes at the end of, okay, now I'm going to consult, do this. And he's like, oh, great. And then it turned into consulting because it was like, you now understand what was stopping you. You now understand what the path really looks like. Do you still want to continue with this? Yes. Okay. Now we can go forward. Interestingly enough, he was a therapist.
Wow.
And he knew full well what you're doing is completely different than what a therapist does. They should not be blended. It can be a slippery slope when you blend those.
Wow.
What else, Phil?
Oh, I did want to ask. I mean, since you do consult and everything, Bluesky. What's the whole day? I mean, again, we have a network account for it. Me and Lilith did our personal accounts.
Uh-huh. Like, I followed you.
What's different about Bluesky, and how can we use it to?
I don't know if I have an answer for you yet. There it is. I just put it in the thing in the chat there. Okay. I don't know if that's for. Oh, that's a private chat. Here, I'll put it in here. Where? Oh, I can't. Well, you could share it, Phil.
Yeah.
I shared it with you. There's the link to Comics Lit Volume 1. Lilith, you and Tanya would be fast friends. I should put you guys together. A.R. Farina is the co-author on it with Tanya. You'd love it. You'd love it. Anyway, they're my literary Lilith and Phil. Okay, so Bluesky, I'm liking it. It is the parts of Twitter that I liked way back.
Yeah.
Twitter became a cesspool even before Musk took over. Then it became just toxic hot garbage that people are running from. It's basically like it's going to be the badge of, oh, are you still on Twitter? Now I know everything about you that I need to. Bluesky is that safer place right now, and hopefully it'll stay that way for a while. So what I would do with it is figure out what your voice is there. Each of your social media, you should be doing that with. I just talked about this on Pour Over Marketing, about going back and fine-tuning all your stuff. If you watch today's episode, it's about going back and making a list of your different socials, doing the look, like the assessment of how many followers do I have, how many posts, like when did I last post, what gets engagement, that kind of stuff. It's really good to do that. And it's also then good to make kind of a Venn diagram of where is my audience. If they're all on Twitter, if they're still active on Twitter, maybe you don't abandon Twitter, right? But if they were active and they're no longer, like when Maeve and I used to do the live tweeting for shows when we first started our network for like Biters and which was about Walking Dead, and we did it for Nuff Said for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we'd sit here and watch these shows and we'd do live tweeting, and it was super active. And then we started noticing it, even though we were doing the same thing, it was like losing steam. And then it's because it got too big, and it was just like, all of a sudden it was like, there's so much noise, you can't get through it. It lost that feel. Well, Bluesky kind of has that feel still. And I think it's going to for a while, because they are trying to put guardrails on it to keep that feel. Threads is kind of in between. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking at each of my socials and saying, I want to convert to a professional account. I want to put the borders up and make things more of my personal account will really just be friends, and then have my professional account, because I've got so many people that friend me that I'm like, I don't really know you. I interviewed you once. We're not like that kind of friend. You don't need to see a picture of my dad in the hospital, right? You don't need to see whatever. So I want to do that. And it's made me think, like, I don't use the other platforms that way. So I'm making an assessment. What type of voice and thing am I going to share on Bluesky? What type of voice and thing am I going to share on Threads? My stuff is so mixed together that's why I'm like, hey, where am I adding value? If I'm not adding value, I want to prune the hedge, right? I don't need social accounts for each of the things I do. Let it be me, but just make it my professional one. And like for Bluesky, at this point, that might just be more fun. You want to have fun interaction with me, go there. I'm not going to put all this other stuff on there. For Threads, it's going to be the same content as Instagram and Facebook pretty much, which I have to figure out. What am I going to do there? I don't want my personal stuff sharing the same way, but maybe Instagram is. For me, the most success I've had on Instagram is when I post Coffee Palooza, when we travel and do coffee. People love that. When I post things that are more personal about me, but not about my personal life, that seems to work great on Instagram. Well, it doesn't need to go to Facebook. Facebook can be more the business side of things. And then if it's personal, it's how you stay in touch with your relatives and which they don't keep in touch with me anyway. So I'm going to go down to like 5 people. It's still going to be me, Alil, Jack, my mom, and Maeve.
Hi, Mom. Yeah, I mean, it seems like Bluesky. It seems like if you want followers, like I've seen like posts of like, it's like, oh hey, if you're a writer or if you're in the such and such, yeah, put your, so comment in the, the
Oh yeah,
comments that you want to. And yeah, it seems like you can make friends there pretty quickly. And
you can. It's a Wild West in there right now.
oh yeah,
But it's good to get in on those things. It's
yeah.
funny because I will say, so I put my thing up that I'm on Blue Sky, and I got. It's interesting. I got more like people that I know that are more like celebrities in the con world
Mm-hmm.
that I'm like friends with. Like if we see each other, it's like, oh hey, how's it going? Or like one guy I hadn't talked to in like 5 years. And I had a question for him, and I wrote him and said, "Hey, it's Rob Southgate. I don't know if you remember me." He's like, "Of course, Rob." And blah blah blah. He had all these comments about like, "You've been doing this and that." I'm like, "Oh, he really follows." I joined Blue Sky, and the first rush of people were all those people.
Yeah.
But they weren't doing it. They were doing it like, "Oh, you're on here," and then they were writing me personal things. And then I look at their thread or their Blue Sky posts, and I'm like, "Oh, these are all kind of like their personal thoughts. They're not using it to promote their books, their art, their whatever."
Mm-hmm.
So there's a real nice connection there. It's like, oh, we found a little place where we can all kind of go and hang out.
Yeah.
I like that.
It seems like it's a lot of it's a lot of creatives. Like I know on the comic book side, a lot of like comic book creators have been
Jumping in there, yeah,
more every day. Yeah.
I think it's good to make that assessment and to keep going back to that well and figuring out what am I trying to say on this platform. Is it one I can just share, like Instagram, Facebook, Threads? Maybe the stuff you share, you just share the same thing, and then maybe add, one thing unique on behind the scenes on Instagram that you don't share on the other thing. So it gives people a reason to follow. But what I find is if people follow me on one place, they seem to follow me on all of them. Unless they just simply don't use the other platforms.
Yeah.
And Blue Sky, I'm finding people that are saying like, I'm giving up everything else. I'm just doing Blue Sky because it seems so much nicer right now. It's like, yeah, it'll change. But because there's trolls, but they seem to be keeping the trolls at bay. I haven't gotten any trolly comments yet. Whereas Facebook, Jesus.
Yeah, between trolls and I swear I get a message, and I think I saw our buddy Jesse Jackson also posted it. It's like you on Facebook, you get a message every day, like, "Oh hey, I can help grow your podcast."
Oh my God, every day, every day. I think I said, did I tell you the story about LinkedIn? Was that you or was that on my other show?
I don't think. Yeah,
LinkedIn it has issues now. I get every day. I get people trying to friend request me, and I'm like, but you're not part of my network. You got in with one person, and then they mined their friend list.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, that's not how this worked. And then I put on there this week that I was open to work because I'm thinking I might pick up some consulting work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I immediately got all these responses. So it felt really good. Like, oh, wow. Okay. Value. Cool. Yeah. So then I started interacting with them, and some of them like were definitely the ones interacting. We're talking, and then all of a sudden it would turn into, hey, your resume needs some tweaking. I have a service. And I'm like, uh-huh. The one guy tried to send me to, oh, I know somebody on Fiverr that does a great job with this resume stuff. And I'm like, okay, here's a link. I said, okay. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing this because they all have their way of doing it. I'm like, it's a bunch of BS. So I said, thanks. And then I got like every 10 minutes for the next hour. Are you still with me? Are you doing it? And I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to unfriend right now. Yeah. So, and then on Facebook, I love these that are like all these accounts that are telling me how they're going to, they start out with the same thing. Hey, I love your show on Spotify, or, oh,
I love your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a show on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
And if you respond, it immediately becomes a pitch. I have to weed people out of there all the time.
Oh, yeah. I don't even answer. I'm like, right to spam.
Yep. Right to spam. Because it doesn't work that way. which does suck because somebody like me who's actually trying to, like, if I see somebody and I can help them, I want to be able to reach out and say, hey, I have a service. I might be able to help you. But now it's all spam or it's noise. And I'm like, I can't break through that way because it's been so destroyed by the trolls and by, the shysters, the con men. What can you do?
It's like the new, hey, your car's warranty is about to expire. Now
Yep.
it's like, hey, do you got a podcast? I can help.
Exactly. If you're so good, what are your numbers at? And
why do you need to throw out these random messages?
Yeah. I mean, I would say overall, our numbers were never that great, but I do have the knowledge, and I have helped people move the mountain. It's just hard to show that. But these people act like they have the secret ingredients. Like, no, I happen to be in the place where I know there is no secret ingredient.
Oh, yeah.
I know what it takes, but I also tell you there's no guarantee. I talk about this with my class all the time. I do a marketing simulation with my class, and I grade it based on them trying things. Another course at the school uses a very similar simulation, and they base it on results. So if you get a 60%, you get 60% of the points. I tell them, nope. As long as you've tried something new, I don't care if you get a 10% or 100%, you get all of the points. Because that's how marketing works. Lilith is going to back me up. There are no sure things. You follow the trend, it might hit, it might not. You might crack the code to a degree, and then it goes away. 1 month, you could try a thing. Like I could go in and I could promote Pod Life through KDP and pay $5 a day to reach people. And I've optimized it and everything's good, right? And for a month, I kick ass. The next month, I re-up it, and it's a 0. Why? That's how marketing works. I was watching a video. This guy, because I actually just did that. I did a thing with through KDP to promote for Black Friday. I promoted Pod Life. Before it gets published by a publisher, I was like, hey, they can still put it out through there. This iteration will not exist soon. It goes away. And in fact, I'm curating it again. I've got a lot of new chapters. I was going to put a volume 2, but I think I'm going to take volume 1, volume 2, kind of shuffle the deck and recurate. And a couple of them I want to ditch out of there. There's no reason, right? And not yours, Phil. You'd be safe. And I thought, okay, well, we'll do this Black Friday thing. And I watched this video this guy had all about doing Amazon ads for books. And this guy was great. He has been successful. I looked him up. He has sold a ton. And first thing he said is, none of this is, A to B. It just isn't. Like, I am constantly trying things and changing things. And he said, if I tell you what I did this month and I had all the success and you try it next month, both of us might be in the crapper. Because it's not how it works. There are basic things that you understand in marketing that do work. Be consistent, clear message, all that kind of stuff. That stuff works. But to have the success that you're thinking, there are no sure things. All you can do is hedge your bets.
And I was going to say, I mean, from my experience, it seems like you can't you always got to be trying to change and evolve. You can't do the same thing,
No, you can't.
Year after year. You can't. You have to try to keep improving and evolving the content.
That's what New Media Lab was about today. When it's talking about going back and optimizing your stuff. You may think you have this beautiful bio. You know what? Go type in best Instagram bios examples. And you're going to get something that looks very different than what you've done. Because right now, these are the best. And you go, oh, mine doesn't look like that. I talked about a great one back with Enough Said. I did it one day, and I thought ours was pretty good. And then I typed that in, and I found a really good – yeah, we're going to read that, Lilith. Give me a second. I found some really good examples, and the best thing was this link tree thing. So I went and I optimized it, and did it make our numbers go crazy? No. Is it a good-looking bio, and did it work for a long time? Yes. Yes. And then I go back occasionally and I change some things. It's pay to win on everything these days. You are so right, Loth. They give you a taste and boost for a while and then breadcrumbs you to death. That's the problem with like these social media platforms. That's why I'm such a huge proponent of like Substack and of newsletters, because you have control and you own it. You own that content. Your Twitter stuff, I mean, as I shut down these Twitter accounts, anything we created, all that cool stuff, gone. Cool conversations, gone. If you did content specific for it, let's say you did like little video clips that were a lot of fun that you ran exclusively on Facebook, they could just take that and make it go away. It's gone. It's like I did all that work. I did all that fun stuff. It's gone. When you have a newsletter, you own it. You own those email lists, right? Buying an email list doesn't work. Building one organically is the only thing that works, but it's a lot of work. But then you own it. So if, you know, all of a sudden our lovely government decides we're going to start shutting these things down and taking away your autonomy, well, they can't. That you own that email list. You have it. You can always go to another service and put it in. You can always do a VPN and go through another service and put those in and email people. That's yours. Buying the list doesn't work, though. That's a mistake a lot of rookies make.
That way, I mean, one of the things you just said that I keep meaning to explore, I should explore that today, is a Substack.
Substack's amazing. It's like blogging or newsletter social media. And the more you throw yourself into it, the more you start seeing, like, I mean, I barely have done anything with it. I have like 30 followers on one and 11 on the other. But that's because I haven't tweaked it. Starting like first of the year, that is actually going to take a big part of my focus, is working that part of it. But I'll tell you what, like the very first time I did it, I wrote an article about podcasting about like things to expect in 2023 or things to work on in 2023 as a podcaster. And another Substack did a similar list. It was a little different, but they did something similar. And I loved it. And they shared my list. And I was like, oh, that's a thing. So I shared their list with my audience. And for my audience, it went on my Substack thread. But it also, because of the way I shared it, I had it email out through my MailChimp that had about 2,500 followers. That gave them a boost there. They have a pretty good following. They shared mine. I got a good boost. Did I pick up a lot of subscribers? No. Did it build some awareness? Absolutely. It didn't build audience because I wasn't producing anything there. But if I start producing and doing things there, it's going to build audience.
Like I've seen like a couple Substacks, like the comic creators, they'll be like, okay, not only is it, oh, hey, this is the comics I have coming out this week, but sometimes like a lot of them will like share stories about, okay, here's the stuff that was going on in my life around creating this, or, a funny thing happened while I was creating this, and it seems like it's not just don't just pitch your stuff. It's like kind of give people like an entertaining story around this project.
Right. The other thing that I found is things like Patreon, Substack, things like that. The people that are paying don't usually want you to do. They want something unique. They want some type of experience. They want value, but they also don't want you to take away from the thing they love. So if you're a podcaster and you're like, hey, I'm going to do one show a month that is exclusive on here, they love that. But if you say, I'm going to start a new show on here and it makes the other show lesser than, that doesn't work. So Patreon, we tried this. We were putting all the stuff out for free and we were putting it on our Patreon page. And then if you subscribed, you got these other shows from our network. We put out some really great shows, but we didn't pick up subscribers. Okay. When we did it with Nuff Said, we picked up some subscribers. It's just, it wasn't enough to keep that going. The value wasn't there. So it's a real give and take. I mean, I look at what you're doing. You've got so many shows. I would start looking at it before you add a show. Can I add it as a show exclusive to my Substack or something like that? If you pay $5 a month, you get, links to all these things. You get an occasional article and you get this exclusive show. Look at way back when I first looked at Patreon, that's what Easy Allies did, and they made a fortune. They started out by doing their podcast. They were tied to they were people that were from a magazine, so they had a built-in base. They started doing a podcast, not for the magazine, but they would promote it and say, "Hey, we're the people that are from X, video game magazine." And then when they built up a little following there, they put up a Patreon that had a paywall, and it was like, for $5 extra a month, you get us all sitting around playing a game like on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned into like a network on Patreon. You can still go on and there's a couple of shows, maybe it's their main show you could get for free, but they took it off everywhere else. It's only on Patreon.
Mm.
And then they have these other shows that you have to pay to watch, but they have a big enough audience to sustain that. We never did. We just didn't. Our YouTube channel, I wish I could burn it to the ground and restart.
Really?
We've got tons and tons and tons and tons of content on there.
Oh, yeah.
But we have, 500 some followers? That doesn't do me any good.
Mm-hmm.
You can't start making money until you're over 1,000 and your watch time is high enough. Our watch time sucks.
Mm.
You know why it sucks? Because we allow things, no offense, Phil, but we allow things that are just a blank screen. So if all the podcasts had this video, had a good image to start it out, had the right hashtags in that, it actually might be able to grow into something.
Mm-hmm.
But when they click on a Capes and Lunatics one that's feeding from your Libsyn, the Libsyns I've been getting from you are blank.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
So it doesn't even have an image. So I take the image, I put it as, but if you play the video, it's just a blank screen. Now, does that work for some? Yes. In fact, like in Europe, I've talked about this before. In Europe, YouTube is the main platform for getting podcasts, and they don't care about the video per se. They let it play while they're driving around, and they have a blank screen because they can't watch it while they're driving.
Mm.
So they don't really care. But not here. Here they want video. They want it to look a certain way. They want it to have a good image that clicks you in. There's a lot of things you need to do to make it do that. They're clicking on ours, and because we have so many that are blank screens, because it was pre-video content like this, they find an old interview with Doug Jones, and there's no video.
No.
They leave it. To me, I listen.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll listen. But they don't. The average person doesn't. So our YouTube channel sucks. It's got amazing content built all the way through it. And there is a lot of video in there. But because of the way we did it, it's too hard. We have 1 million playlists now. I went and I separated and made a whole bunch of playlists, even for Capes and Lunatics. Every one of your shows has a playlist on our YouTube channel. The reason...
that's how I did.
Yeah, it has to be. Otherwise, it's too much mud.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that only have a couple of shows I didn't make playlists, I threw them into Lilith's old channel 52.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, well, we'll see if people interact in here. But I would, like I said, I would burn it to the ground and start that whole thing over.
Yeah, I'm always looking at YouTube. I don't know. It's always in the back of my head. I was like, I always look at the whatever graphic or picture they have, whatever thumbnail. I'm just like, what's working for people? What's not working for people? Is it, just like a big headline on the front of it? Is it, somebody's actual picture over something?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of data out there you can look at. Like you always got to look at what's trending right now. What YouTube images are getting the most hits. And you can see it. I'll tell you what, in YouTube, they have really, really, really excellent trainings in there. So way back, I interviewed the guys from Cinema Sins when they were one of the biggest shows on YouTube. They had millions of followers. And these two guys were just a couple of actors out of California that thought it was fun to make these little videos. And they said, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing, but we thought it was kind of fun to talk about like what's wrong with these movies. And when they started, and they said they put out a few videos and they were just garbage. And then they went and they went into YouTube University or whatever it is. And they said, literally, we just did what it said. If it said, right now having your logo across the top seems to be getting more hits, they switched all their stuff to have the logo across the top. If it said, don't have more than 3 hashtags built into your show notes, they didn't. And they said, yeah, we just followed what it said. And within a couple of months, they were number one, like all over the place.
Oh yeah, they'll help you now with your headline, your title,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's tools that do that, and the trend now is people use AI for that. In my class, I talk about that. Like AI for content creation, I am against. You say you wrote a book and it turns out it was AI. That's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That's garbage. You write a blog. I want to hear your thoughts. I don't want to hear some AI generated thought on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you use it for optimizing headlines, for building a template, or for like, I need an outline for my book. I'm writing a book about about Capes and Lunatics Network.
Mm-hmm.
ChatGTP, give me an outline for a 7-chapter book about the Capes and Lunatics Network. It will formulate something that you can then work with.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, write me a book, it'll write a book, but it's going to be BS.
Mm-hmm.
There's a publisher that I just read an article about. That's what they're going to do. They said they're not going to hire writers. They're soliciting ideas from writers, and they'll pay you for your idea that they put in as a prompt, and it writes the book. I'm like, who the hell's going to buy that?
That's not going to be soulless at all. No.
Oh, garbage. Will there be interesting things that come out of it? There can be, but no, I don't want to read any of that.
Well, name them.
You know what? I don't know it off the top of my head. It was one that I was talking about with Erica from Four Horsemen, and she was like, what the serious F? Yeah, it was an article in one of the like library journal or whatever, and I'm like, they're garbage.
They're going to learn. I mean,
They're going to get it out. They're going to put some things out through KDP, through Amazon, and Amazon is going to clamp down on AI generated stuff because it gets a torrent of horrible reviews in that.
I was going to say, if nothing else, yeah, the reviews are going to be horrible for that stuff.
Yeah, I've seen. Even like with cover art, I'm in this Books of Horror group, and the one author used AI on her cover because she's not an artist and she didn't know. And the vitriol back was crazy. I'm like, okay, don't attack her too hard. Teach her. You need to get a new cover. You need to have an artist make your cover. Because it was so obviously AI generated, even though she didn't think so. She was like, this is cool. Yeah, it was your idea of what you wanted, but you did an AI thing. So it had the funky fingers and it's like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
When I make like podcast art, I try to use, I only use like public domain images. I am not a digital artist, but I can put things together and I know what they should look like. That's different than saying, make me a cover for Capes and Lunatics. That doesn't work.
And there's tools that help you there too, like the Canva app. I find that very helpful.
Canva's great. I use it all the time now.
Oh yeah, me too.
I used to use Pixelmator, and that became like, that was another one that kind of destroyed itself. It ate itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so good for a while, and it was for what I was doing, it was the best thing. And then it was like one day I went in, and it was like all of a sudden it was a horrible tool. And then people were talking about Canva, and I was like, Canva wasn't quite the tool it is now. And I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. And I couldn't afford to go to or want to learn Photoshop and do it. Like, it's too much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Canva's great.
Oh,
lots of good tools in there. And I find that I can manipulate a lot in there. So I'm able to use the framework and then change a lot. It's like, okay, this is really good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They also follow the trending stuff. Like when we talked about the covers on YouTube, there are certain covers that attract attention. When I make them through Canva and I make them look a certain way, they seem to get more hits.
Mm-hmm.
I did just go back, speaking of having a blank page, I went back and Chris and I had done a show that was on 80s Reboot Overdrive. We did a show where we reviewed the show Deutschland 83. It's only like 8 episodes. We absolutely had the best time. We recorded in his coffee shop. I mean, you're talking two best friends talking about Germany in the 80s, like laughing about stuff. And the soundtrack was awesome. The whole thing was awesome. Great show. Dark, too. Wasn't a comedy, I'll tell you that. Out of nowhere, I never get fan mail. Very, very, very rarely. And somebody wrote and was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to you, Rob, and you're my favorite and all that. I was like, wow, that made me feel really good. I don't think I've ever gotten one that positive. And they said they had been listening to Disturbed and how much they loved Chris and I. And they had listened to Orange is the New Black with Maeve and I. And they said, is there anything else? And I wrote her back and I said, yeah, here's a bunch of shows that I've done. Here's a bunch of shows I've done with Maeve. Here's what I've done with Chris. And then I said, hey, there was this Deutschland 83 that nobody's going to find because it's buried in the feed for 80s Reboot Overdrive. So I made new artwork for it. I did not do anything on Libsyn, but I put it over on YouTube as a playlist, and I put new artwork on it. So it's its own playlist for Deutschland 83. And I sent it to her. I was like, here you go. You might be the only one that ever sees it. But here you go. Of course, she didn't write back, so I'm going to assume it was a bot that was trolling me. Yeah, so it's important to get the artwork right. It's important to pay attention to that stuff. Now, she may have gotten in there and saw that it's not video and been like, oh, but I want to listen to the audio. Well, I'm not going to make a new feed. You can go look at 80s Reboot Overdrive's feed and find it there. But I've even been cutting those. I've been cutting those way back. There's because there's no value there. If it's getting like 4 listens a month, what are we doing? Let it live on YouTube. YouTube, I can put it up on. And I have the original audio in that for a lot of stuff. Not everything. So like the Gaming with Scott, I don't have all those the audio for that. So every once in a while I'll go in and I'll download 10 episodes so that I can strip the audio, and I have them. It's on YouTube, so you got to strip the audio off of it. There's no video content, but it is taking up more file because it's not just an audio only. So I strip them off, and now I have them. So eventually I should have pretty much everything for whatever that's worth. To us, it's important. Yeah. I mean, I for the time being, I've killed that project I was talking about too, the history of Southgate Media Group, because I didn't even get the podcasters interested. I got like 2 responses, and I was like, okay, what am I doing this for? So I have an idea on how to do it now. After doing that experiment, I have a really fun idea on how to do it, but I'm not going to do it.
Well,
who knows? Maybe in a few years, maybe. But the odds are getting very slim. It will be something that we'll have the content. If Molly ever wants to do something with it, she can do something. We'll let a radio station play that has it and leave it at that.
Oh, that's the other thing. Like I see advertised sometimes on social media, like internet radio. Like, is that would that be useful for podcasters? Or
I think it could be. I don't think anybody's got the interface down quite right yet. I've looked at them. There was an app years ago. It was an app for WordPress that literally you could plug your RSS feeds into, and it just did a streaming radio station. So if you were a little network and you had 10 shows, you could put in all the different RSS feeds, and it would randomly pull episodes. That's not the greatest way to do it, but it was pretty cool to have just a streaming thing. I think that's why it went away, though, because you wanted more control, and they weren't going to put money into having more control. It would be amazing to have like Live 365 that does internet radio, and be able to take your podcasts and make a production schedule and program everything in. That would be amazing. And I think you can do that, but that's a lot of work. And once again, if nobody's listening, you're not going to attract advertisers. What are you putting all that work into it for? I'm past the point of hobbies. I'm really losing the interest in hobbies.
Yeah.
The stuff I do better be to help somebody else. So like pour over marketing, I know I'm helping people. The hobby part of it, if it was me just like, hey, I want to go on and talk about marketing, I'm pretty well over that now. You know, we have that Enough Said project that Jack Lil and I started working on. They still want to do it. We'll go back to it. It's cool. I like listening to the ones we've done. I haven't put them out there yet. But if I were to say, hey, this week we're going to record every week and we're going to build this thing out, I don't think I want to do it. I don't think I want to do it because it's just I'm kind of past the hobby thing.
And it's always harder on the person doing all the work. All the work.
It's true. It's true. And when you get, you start having realizations. I mean, the amount of work that I put into Southgate Media Group, when the response back is so nominal from the people within.
Oh yeah.
The audience. It's like people listen, they lurk. I'm okay with that. It's the people that were part of it that have so much apathy that you feel like, what did we do here?
Oh, I know.
It's hard.
I mean, just the amount of work I do, I'm like, how did he do all these, so much more? And I'm like, that would anger me just if people are just like,
yeah. And I'm not bitter about it. I'm just like, okay, well, we did it, and I love what we did. We had a great time, and we made some wonderful friendships. We also have people that completely apathetic. It's like, okay, we don't need to do anything more. That was our time together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a season of life, and that was our season of life with that. When I started 2.0, I mean, 2.0 is still a thing, but it's a thing that is either going to happen the way we want it, or we're going to let it just kind of be its thing that it is right now. But I'm not soliciting. Not bringing things into the fold. Even Pod Life. Like we did the 2 books. The second one has taken a while, but that's because we've got all this interest from the publisher and all that. And it's like, okay. But then they want a whole series out of it. And I'm like, do I really want to deal with podcasters?
Like, how much is a whole series? How many books is a whole series?
Oh, it could go on for 10 volumes.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, think about it. There's like 500,000 podcasts out there. All of those are potentials.
Oh, yeah.
But the amount of work chasing down the people for the book, I want to do it. I'm in. Okay, well, here's my deadline. Blows through the deadlines. It's so much work to get them to the point that now I can do the work that has to be done. And then in the beginning, they spend a lot of time like, well, when's it coming out? It's like, you turned it in a week ago. Things take time. So even that feels like a hobby. And I'm like, well, we'll see. We'll see if we do anything with that, or if I'm writing a book on marketing right now and I'm loving it.
Oh.
From that, I can teach classes based on it. That I'm really interested in. But the other part of it, yeah, I don't know. If it's not adding value to my life, to my family's life, to my audience, then I'm kind of over it. I'd like to be able to have hobbies like playing a video game once in a while again. I mean, I have all these games and these systems. I don't touch them.
I know. I hear it.
I just work. And at some point you have to say, is that work for your hobby? And is that worth it? I don't know. I think I'm losing interest in hobbies.
Oh.
I like to watch movies and TV.
Yeah. Oh.
But that's a passive hobby. But I like that. But I don't need to talk about it.
Oh, you know what I jumped into? I'm still in the middle of it. Like recently, after Lilith and I had a conversation, the original Twilight Zone. I've been
those are so good.
Oh yeah, I'm like, yeah. Some of the effects aren't the bad, haven't aged well, but like the stories have aged well.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. And then you should watch when you finish that, you should watch his second series, Night Gallery.
Oh, okay.
Night Gallery is darker. It was on later. Like, I think that one was maybe even the early 70s that was on.
Oh, okay.
It was on late night. It was really good. Good horror stories on there. It very much in that same vein, but darker. Yeah, it is. Twilight Zone's amazing. There's actually Humanoids put out a comic book of the story of Rod Serling.
Mm.
You guys should get that and do a review of it. He's not a great guy, but he's not. But he had real vision. He's really interesting to read about.
Oh yeah.
It's just personally, you're like, oh man, he's kind of messed up. But his drive towards this, his creativity, crazy. Oh, Lilith has it. She has the book. It's great, isn't it, Lilith? You better answer me. Same company did one on Bela Lugosi. They have one about the Velvet Underground that I have not picked up yet.
Oh, wow.
That's called Humanoids, is the comic company. They did all the
she said amazing.
In Call, the ones that are Dune, but they're comics based on Jodorowsky's Dune. It's like an expansion from that. They're freaking great. And they did the Meta Barons and all that, which is still, if you're a Dune fan, these comics are amazing.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. I love them. They did that, and there's a ton of those. All right, Phil, it's 10:03.
All right.
Old man, get off my porch long enough.
All right.
This was fun. I really enjoyed doing it, and we're just going to put a pause. If I see value to it, or if you see value and you're like, hey, Rob, come back. But otherwise, just invite me on to guest on things. I'm happy to do it. But if nobody's watching, what are we doing?
Okay. All right.
I love you guys, though.
Love you too.
Yeah. Have me on things. I love to sit and talk with people, but
I know this is a stupid question, but you have anything to promote?
Yeah, there's a Black Friday sale going on right now from Four Horsemen Publications, fourhorsemenpublications.com, 50% off all the books. Buy them. There's lots of good stuff, lots of really cool stuff. We got a D&D romance book called Love Across the Tabletop that is really good. I'm in love with Mothman, the third book just coming out, where she's marrying Mothman. So those are romance. But then there's a series called The Bench. The Bench is the first book in by Ty Carlson. Absolutely excellent. Yes, technically it's Cyber Monday.
Monday, yes.
Yeah. I call it Grayscale Saturday because now we're promoting books and comics for today and tomorrow. The Bench, if you like sci-fi, exceptional series. You want high fantasy, we have the Godling Chronicles, which was a huge series for Amazon way back, and nobody ever published it as like a traditional publication. So there's, I think, 8 books in that series. We picked it up. We have it now. You can get the Godling Chronicles. So if you like Game of Thrones and high fantasy, it's an exceptional book. There's 14,000 reviews on Amazon from it. So you know it's not some, like, oh, they have 150 reviews. I wonder if it's good. 14,000's a number.
Oh, yeah. And again, I mean, even though it's online, I mean, again, small business kids, support small
That's
business.
right. That's right. And then the other thing is, hey, if you got a dream, you got a goal you want to hit, dreamingbigcoaching.com. Get a free session with me, and let's see if I can help you. And if not, I'll be honest with you. I'm up front. Or want to start a podcast or something? I mean, but we also have Southgate Small Business. If you're an entrepreneur and you've got a business, I don't care what it is, whether it's a creative business or whatever, and you want to talk about how to market it or what are the things I can do, I'll bar rescue you guys.
All right.
So there we go. I think that's everything.
Yes. All right. Well,
and buy Patrik's album. Patrik, the one who did the soundtrack for this, has a brand new CD coming out. Patrik Tanner, brand new. It was one that he wrote during Trump's first time.
Oh.
And then when Trump didn't win, he was like, I don't need to put this out anymore because he hates Trump. So it's almost like a protest album, but he decided he had a new album about to come out. And he went, the timing is better to put this album out finally.
Yeah.
So that one's coming out. So yeah, if that really pisses you off, don't buy it. But if you're like me, I have a feeling it's going to be amazing. Patrik's an amazing musician. Patrik Tanner. His band, the one you hear on here, is Patrik Tanner and the Faraway Men. But he plays with Tina in the B-Side Movement. He was in the Billies. He was in Neil. Martin Zeller, he was in that band. And now he's back to doing just his Patrik Tanner solo stuff. And it is so good.
And
new album.
Find him in the show notes. So
yeah. Yep. New album coming out. I'll get a link when I can, and I'll send it to you, Phil.
Okay. All right. And yeah. This is him.
Someplace where we belong, where we can be.
I'm gonna cry. I feel like I'm playing you out for the last time.
I'm virtually holding you, Phil.
I felt it. But no, kids, I'll bother Rob the guest on stuff. I might get back to this.
Who knows?
Hey.
A month from now, I might say, "Hey, Phil, I got something to promote."
Hey, 16 episodes. This is a record for all.
Oh, that's a lie, Phil.
I know.
I do have shows that are this short, but no, we had 5-year runs.
I know.